And blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. You know, what are we going to talk about today? Well, that's where you come in at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The summer doldrums are here. The move for impeachment continues. And President Trump continues to be vilified. And that is one big issue that we should take a look at. The idea of whether or not we're going to go through this once again, impeaching the President of the United States. Is there really a win for that? We see how divisive the country is right now. We see how Nancy Pelosi can't even get along with things when we're talking about AOC and others. And personally, I think right now, here in Boise, Idaho, although our city of license is Nampa, Idaho, and really I wish we could, our city of license in reality should be the entire Treasure Valley. No, we're not hubris enough to say that it should be the state of Idaho. There are a lot of great talk show hosts in Twin Falls and Idaho Falls and everywhere else. I don't know Coeur d'Alene. I know Colin Cowherd's going to be in Coeur d'Alene, a big sports talk guy, but I digress. There's too much fluff on the radio as it is, so let's get to the meat and potatoes of it. Social media. Now, many of us, maybe we get on social media, we're addicted to Twitter, and one of the great things about the Treasure Valley is it's what America was and could be again, right? When we're looking at values, faith, family, and freedom. And I know there are people on Facebook, I know there are people on Twitter, but it doesn't consume their lives. And for some people, like these young entrepreneurs, we have a few of them. One of them by the name of Russell Brunson, who runs this organization just off Chinden called ClickFunnels. And like a lot of people, we would love to get Russell on. And if you know Russell, he's a big wrestler from Boise State. We'd love for you to put in a word edgewise. But he's used social media to make millions and to help others and to make the world a better place. And I'm amazed by the guy. He just works all the time. In fact, I sit there and watch the videos of him, and the guy is just crazy the way he works, and the people that work with him work. It is amazing. And that's one good thing that social media does. But on the other hand, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, what we're seeing today with social media is the de-evolution of civility. You know, everybody's a tough guy in their car. Everybody is a tough guy in their car. Just like everybody is a tough guy when it comes to emails. And a tough gal, well, you better not mess with me. And then what happens? All of a sudden, boom, 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 there could be, and let's hope there isn't, a physical confrontation. But to the point I'm trying to make here is, what good does social media do? Yes, you have Mr. Brunson. And by the way, we would love to get a hold of Russell, another guy that has done very well. And these guys are in their 30s and 20s, is Nathan Barry. Now, Mr. Barry wrote a book, an ebook that I purchased, and as Mrs. Miller will tell you, I have a lot. And my mom, who just left here, along with my dad, I have a lot of books. And, some people collect cars like Ron Grant. Some people collect food. Some people collect whatever. I collect books. And one day it is my goal just to sit around and be like my dad and just read all the time, right? But back to the point about Nathan Barry. So, you ever heard of Constant Connection or MailChimp? These programs that let you email to hundreds or thousands of people. Well, Mr. Barry, and we've had Mr. Barry on the program, he just had a big conference here at Jump. Mr. Barry has come up with a program that ConvertKit, I believe it's called. And Mr. Barry lives on a farm, raised here in the Treasure Valley, and does wonderful things and employs a bunch of people. Just had a big event last month at Jump, right? And brought in a bunch of people. And it's fascinating on one hand, the currency that social media has become. But on the other hand, and by the way, you can join me. I don't want to hog the conversation at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, on the other hand, the loss of civility when it comes to social media and the loss of looking at things objectively, thanks to social media. People will lie. You have, as you heard at the top of the hour there on Fox News, you have AOC, who has a bunch of followers on social media. You have Cortez, Presley, Omar, and others have these huge followings because of social media. And dare I sound like an old curmudgeon? Of course I did when I was 13 and, into my 50s now. The world would be a better place, I think, sometimes, than if we didn't have social media. That's the bad part of it. The good part about it. And by the way, I really need to get the head football coach of Nampa High on. That's the beauty of promoting our school, securing our future, getting a chance to go to these schools. And if you haven't been watching the news, there is a wonderful story that made all the papers. It made ABC's World News Tonight. And look, I'm going to try and get that up in a minute. But Dan Holtry, and his dad was the principal at Nampa High. And Dan Holtry actually looks just like our regional person, one of the few people still here that hired me, Kevin Godwin, for those of you keeping score at home. So Dan Holtry and a group of Nampa High football players found out that a little kid in Meridian, Idaho, who has autism, invited a bunch of kids to his birthday party. And you know how it is. Some of us are antisocial, but when we're kids, what do we want? We want all our friends and neighbors and everybody else to be with us. Everybody likes the little kid birthday party. So this young man invited a bunch of his classmates to his home, and I believe only one person RSVP'd. And I believe his mama went on social media, and Coach Holtry, and again, the kids at the Nampa High football team, they're getting a ton of credit, and they should. But I'll tell you this, having had the privilege of knowing Dan's dad and Dan Holtry, it's just amazing, the class act that we have. Now, that's spreading like wildfire on social media, and that's great. That is truly wonderful. And people are saying, look, we're on this, we're on that. The people at Nampa High don't care about that. They care about making the world a better place, right? That's really what it comes down to. So that's the good news about social media. And I'm trying to pull up the sound here even as we work. But I think about this as we're on our tablets. Years ago, I had a chance to go to a conference in Philadelphia by this young man by the name of Jerry Del Colenio, who has predicted for a long time the end of our beloved radio as we know it, due to big money interest coming in and other things, right? So Jerry was talking about the future of technology. And he said, Kevin Miller, one day you're going to be at a table and people are going to be on their tablets, their phones, and they're going to converse to each other via tape, right? And I'm thinking, what? That can't happen. And instead of tape, he meant texting, right? And we see it all the time. People are texting nonstop. And that's how powerful social media is. We don't want to miss anything because we're all about social media. And on one hand, in the three cases we've talked about, Russell Brunson, Nathan Barry, and the Nampa High football team, it makes a world of difference. On the other hand, when you take a look at AOC and others, there's a great book, it's probably out of print, called Applebee's America. Applebee's America talked about the groups that we form online. When we, talk to people, and we really don't know people, but we get to know them through our interaction digitally, texting, FaceTime, whatever. And it's a new type of phenomena. But I'm thinking to myself, the president, I guess you could say, you can't guess, the president has used social media to his benefit, right? But I'm thinking to myself, can we ban social media? No, we can't. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Think about that for a moment. When you're on your devices, can we ban social media? I mean, we've left it, how should we put that? We have let the cat out of the bag, and it's become so influential in our lives. And then you have, again, the Nampa High football team on their personal Facebook, just sitting back and getting ready for camp. By the way, football camp starting very soon for a lot of people. Please be very careful. Coming up next, public enemy number 2, vaping. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio, phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So are we just randomly picking things that we should ban? No, there was a big hearing yesterday on Capitol Hill. Very emotional hearing concerning the vaping industry and a product that our old friend Sean Hannity endorses, the Juul. You ever heard of the Juul, where you go before the vaping store, and all of a sudden you go in and you buy this thing, and it's supposed to, not kill you like the cigarettes. Of course, everything is killing you, right? Let's vilify the fatties. They come after my people and me all the time. Then we had this big hearing on Capitol Hill where all of a sudden the vaping is bad, and you have people saying, look, we've got to stop this, and we've got to, stop kids from getting the vaping. Well, maybe you can help me with this. Maybe you can help me out with this. And I believe some states are raising the age where people can buy cigarettes to 21 now. I think I saw this, a couple states doing it. So if somebody really can help me with this, because this is something that we fundamentally disagree about on a lot of issues, at least the vocal minority. I know the majority of the people in the state of Idaho agree with Kevin Miller that marijuana is bad, that marijuana is harmful, that smoking dope makes you dope. But on one hand, we have states decriminalizing marijuana and opening up marijuana to a variety of people. Only 11 states have done this in clear violation of federal law. And yet you have people surprised and upset and want to limit other people to vaping, saying vaping is bad. How can that be? Because of the impeachment, because of everything else, we haven't had a chance to get into this at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Look, they ran the smokers out of business. They ran everybody else out of the business. And now you have the vaping. And if it makes people happy, let them vape. I know people at work here that vape in the building. They're not supposed to. They do it anyway. What are you going to do? But to go after vaping, to go after cigarettes, and then to legalize marijuana, and this is the most dangerous threat. The pro-pot people have figured this out, that the way to our hearts, the way to our minds, the way to making this happen is to go through the money and getting the banks to legitimize the illegal pot business. I talked a little bit about this in the 8 o'clock hour yesterday. Senator Crapo, head of the banking committee, all of a sudden Congress is worried that your bank and your pot dispensary person cannot use their facility. They're worried about the pot people getting robbed, ripped off because they have cash. And it's a cash business. And a cash business leads to what? Being robbed. Well, then why do we have the business if it's not recognized by the federal government? I digress. The people that talk about promoting marijuana, saying we've got to help these people out. We've got to make sure that these people are okay. Because quite frankly, if we don't, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, if we don't do this, they're going to lose money. And the bankers care about us. Of course, they didn't care about us when they were stealing our money back in 08 and 09. But the hypocrisy here is just amazing to me. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, right? The hypocrisy is just crazy to me. When we take a look at the bankers are now worried about the dispensaries. Now, coming up in less than 5 minutes, a story that is so delicious, so delectable, we've been holding off on it for 3 or 4 days, and this is the situation involving weedology in Ontario, Oregon. I feel sorry for the folks in Ontario. I wish I could save you. I wish I could come in with the militia. We'd roll in and run those pot people out of there. We'd give them all haircuts, fumigate the place, padlock the doors and steam clean it. Now, again, this program for entertainment purposes only, but that's how we feel. Traffic and weather together, 626, Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. So we'll get back to that issue about weedology coming into Ontario. But first, from ABC's World News, the number one nightly news show, David Murr talking about our friends, Coach Holtry and the team in Nampa, Idaho.
Here, America Strong, the mother, her little boy, and the birthday party no one was coming to until this.
What are you doing?
Christian Larson is from Meridian, Idaho, and he's turning 9.
Today's my birthday. Is it your birthday?
Yes, it's my birthday.
His mom, Lindsay, planning the birthday party for her son who is autistic. Christian wanted to have a science-themed birthday, complete with microchips, their potato chips, and a beaker birthday cake. Christian handed out invitations to his entire class, 25 kids, but only one little girl said yes. His mom, brokenhearted, posted about it online, and a friend had an idea. And with Mom recording it all, you could hear them coming. The Nampa High School football team, all teenagers, chanting Christian's name. It turns out their coach organizing the whole thing, surprising Christian, who couldn't believe it, falling right into the grass. And then this moment, going down the line, one by one, getting high fives from the team, determined to make sure someone showed up for Christian's birthday. And one more surprise. A gift bag from the team, inside a team shirt and a football.
Whoa. Now we can play a real game with a real ball.
Yeah. Tonight, Christian's family is grateful, and little Christian saying this was the best birthday ever. Happy birthday, Christian. We celebrate you and your mom tonight, and of course that football team for doing the right thing.
You know, again, God bless the folks at Nampa High and Christian and Coach Holtry. And by the way, you notice Coach Holtry not in the pictures, not in the background. I'm sure his family, the Holtry family, very proud of their son and all those Nampa High Bulldogs. And if you're new to the Treasure Valley, Nampa High, one of the oldest high schools here in the Treasure Valley and the pride of Nampa. Of course, you have Skyview and others now. They're great high schools, but those Nampa Bulldogs, and my boy Bob Zimmerman, he'll tell you, don't mess with the Nampa High Bulldogs. So a wonderful story. Yes, that is the good power of social media. But on the other hand, you look at all the negativity. Maybe we should follow David Murr's lead and just try and highlight some goodness. Well, we do that occasionally. Coming up next at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, is it time to liberate Ontario from Oregon? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. You know something? That's right. We're going to keep it here for a minute. We're going to continue on. And this is the magic of talk radio. This is the magic of the communication. This is our rapport that we have each and every day. You know, this is why At one hand, as I always say, this is the ultimate form of acceptance or rejection. And you're thinking, Kevin Miller, what? You were going to go to break and you didn't. Look, Channel 7, technical difficulties today. So we're going to have Fox News at the bottom of the hour. Some people are saying that's too much information. I understand that. We've got Ray Amaya in the room ready to take your calls, and basically it's you and me. There are no records. There are no partners. There is just you and me. And you're thinking, okay, Kevin Miller, then give me something to talk about. This is another segment. Thank goodness we live in Idaho. How many people love country music? Well, Kevin Miller, if I loved country music, I'd be listening to the country and western stations. I get it. Not a lot of content when they're going, hey, did you see what Blake Shelton did? Boy, I miss Garth Brooks. Trisha Yearwood, boy, she could throw a good tailgate party. Just kidding. But there's a group called the Confederate Railroad. The Confederate Railroad. Anybody see anything wrong with that name, the Confederate Railroad? Well, apparently living in the politically correct culture isn't good for gigs for the Confederate Railroad. And by the way, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, think about this. Would you go to a show with a group called the Confederate Railroad? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Well, the Confederacy, right? Racism, right? Is it possible to have a sense of humor anymore? Is it possible to have a sense of humor in the world today? Let's get the latest from our own Michelle Polino with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
After objections over the use of the flag in its logo, the Grammy-nominated band's August 1st date at the Ulster County Fair in New York's Hudson Valley was canceled. The band's frontman Danny Shirley echoed supporters on social media who said the flag for them represents history and their Southern heritage. The flag is under increasing criticism as a racist emblem of slavery in the country. Shirley told Fox News after the first concert was canceled at a fair in Illinois that they were disappointed. However, 2 days after learning they were canceled, they signed on to play another venue in the region. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
And there we have it. We have young people lacking critical thinking skills, old people that want to be accepted, going after the Confederate Railroad. Crazy. Thank goodness we live in Idaho. I could see Al Sharpton now. Well, we don't like their music because they're pro-Confederacy. No. History, albeit uncomfortable, needs to be told. And by the way, history, unlike China, the difference between us and China, I'll tell you about it next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Brian, we were out here back in January when retailers were applying for conditional use permits. Today, the employees here at Weedology actually underwent some training as they get ready to open their doors on Friday. From I-84, driving into Ontario, a billboard for the city's first marijuana dispensary is on full display.
It's been an exciting wild ride.
And in just a few days, its inventory will also be on full display.
This building's been here in Ontario for quite a few years. It's been a garage and a used car lot and kind of an oil change and gas stations through the years, and now it's this.
Weedology expects to open its doors Friday.
You can see in the corners we have over here and here are all my fulfillment stations. So those jars will be full of our flour once it gets here.
The store's opening comes less than 1 year after Ontario voters lifted a ban on marijuana sales last November.
We can only sell to the same customer once per 24 hours.
A 3% tax from commercial marijuana sales will go toward the city. But while Ontario gets ready to see its first marijuana dispensary, just across the border, marijuana in Idaho is illegal.
Yes, it's illegal and should stay illegal. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Let's continue on to see how they position the story.
Idaho State Police says they've confiscated nearly 5 times more marijuana from people driving to Idaho from Oregon and Washington State since marijuana became legal in Oregon in 2015. Back in Ontario, though, Angel believes the new dispensary will be beneficial to the city.
Well, we'll hold off on Angel at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So here it is, Weedology opening up. In fact, I believe the folks from Weedology approached Mrs. Miller and said, hey, if you want Kevin to have us on, I think it was Weedology, and I said, no. I believe it was Mrs. Miller. Yeah, it was my wife, but she, Dave, and apparently they're nice people. Well, that's great. But here's a course in civility, right? And you're going to have some people deciding, well, we're going to go to Ontario and have a good time. And you've got the state police. God bless them. See, this is what I don't understand. At 580-5436, because we have a few people that disagree with Governor Little, Kevin Miller, and the Idaho State Police, and all law enforcement in the Treasure Valley, does that mean that Governor Little, Kevin Miller, law enforcement is wrong? Right? And if we are, what's it based on? That if it feels good, smoke the weed? Going to be a public safety concern here in Idaho. And, we've got crazy Russ, radical Russ, the pro-pot Russ, failed with the medical marijuana initiative. It's going to be a tough go here, and it should be. But let's continue on with people in Ontario. I'm sure that people in Ontario are not happy about this.
I think it'll bring a lot of revenue to the area, too. We need a lot more going on.
I'm glad for it. I'm a medical patient myself, and it's definitely one of a tool in my pain management.
While the majority of the folks we spoke with supported Ontario marijuana dispensaries, Weedology's general manager says not everyone feels that way.
It's really not anything major. It's just, we don't like pot, or why is it coming here in my town? But overall, the negative experience, the negative feedbacks.
You're saying the negative experience. And again, you have a bunch of hippies, a bunch of people with their hats to the back, a bunch of people with their wide rim glasses, and that's okay. No, all about this. They feel they're part of a movement. They're part of a movement to aid and abet breaking federal law. And I urge President Trump, I urge the Attorney General to stop this right now. Can you hear my pleas, sir?
It's been very, very limited.
Well, we'll see how limited it is there, buddy. So there we have it. Ontario, Oregon, the first to fall in our beloved region. We consider the Treasure Valley, Ontario to mountain home, right? And now people talk about CBD oils and say, Kevin Miller, CBD oils are great. Well, what's the regulation on CBD oils? Is it going to be like the supplement industry, that you take their word for it, that what you ingest into your body is good for you? Now, I have people that focus in on fitness. And in a small part of my life prior, and I know you're going to go, Kevin, you're about as fit as a bell pepper. I get it. But I covered the fitness industry. I was in it for a while. It's still one of the loves of my life. And now they're saying, well, CBD oil helps you recover quicker from the workouts. Of course, they said that about creatine. And they said it about the protein powder, the milk and egg. All right. Sean in Meridian is going to bite on this. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Sean.
Hello. How you doing this morning?
Waking up on the right side, brother.
That's right. Right. So I was thinking about this. I moved here from Tacoma. I'm actually an Idaho native, but I was stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Tacoma, Washington. So I got to see these dispensaries pop up and all of the marijuana, industry grow in Tacoma, Washington. Coming back to Idaho, I was really excited that I wouldn't have to smell the Tacoma skunk anymore. And the thing about this whole thing, and this is what people are not paying attention to, is marijuana is actually dangerous. And I say that because people will use marijuana and drive because they feel that, they're not drunk. They feel that they have this right to smoke and then drive. It's still an impairment. So we're going to see people coming across that border, getting into accidents, who are impaired. So marijuana deaths, I was talking to a police officer in Tacoma, Washington, and he said that he sees marijuana deaths, not because of smoking the actual marijuana. That isn't what's killing people. Because people, basically drugging and driving. And, it's a sad thing. Now, on the other hand, I also support the idea that marijuana could be investigated more medically and possibly used properly. But I think it needs to go through the FDA. I don't think that it needs to just be take someone's word for it. I think there has to be a true, clear regulation on it. But that's my 2 cents on that.
I agree with you, Sean. On the other, I don't, again, I say that should be the same for CBD oil, though.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And I have tried CBD oil. I'm an injured veteran, and I've tried it for pain. And honestly, I haven't. Maybe it was just the concentration was off or something, but I didn't really notice any actual effect from it. And I have chronic pain. Now, say what people want. I think it's snake oil, really. Yeah. I don't think it's a real thing because I've tried it and I didn't notice any difference. And I paid close attention to it. The military wanted the VA wanted to give me opioids to deal with my pain. I also didn't accept that. Ibuprofen, Tylenol, those things actually worked for my pain. So I think that it's just it's a talking point that a lot of pro-marijuana people have to try to legalize it, saying, oh, well, it can help cancer patients. Sure, I can see that, possibly. But they need to do some actual investigation using real doctors, real scientists, and real medical testing facilities. Otherwise, it's just a joke.
Sean, thank you for your service, and thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio.
Thank you, sir. Have a good morning, and God bless.
God bless, Sean. Let's continue on. We go to Hank in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. I won't belabor the point for very long. I'll get to the main topic. But you're talking about the Confederate railroads. They were very rickety even before the Civil War. And it was the failure of the...
We were talking about that. That's a band.
Yeah, and it was the failure of the railroads that primarily led to the collapse of the Confederacy. Lee made the decision to invade Gettysburg because the Fredericksburg and Rappahannock Railroad could not deliver the goods to his army. He even had to detach Longstreet to Suffolk around Norfolk area to gather supplies. And of course, it didn't help that the superintendent of that railroad, Samuel Roth, was the Union agent who was also withholding supplies on top of that. But the railroads were, compared to the Baltimore and Ohio in the north and the Pennsylvania Railroad, the Confederate railroads were a joke. Now, to get to your main topic.
Yes, sir.
I think that the CBD oil, I'll ditto the previous caller's remarks. I think that a lot of that is this snake oil stuff. I think there's better stuff out there that's legal that would solve the chronic pain issues. They used to say that about whiskey. I mean, there was a provision even in the Volstead Act where you could have liquor for additional purpose, and I'll tell you what, it was a very liberally supplied. Doctors used to liberally supply whiskey during Prohibition. I mean, I think the only reason why the failure of the marijuana initiative in Idaho is because there wasn't enough money. I think with the place on Ontario being there, I think that'll attract enough big money in it for them to basically get marijuana, get signers, people signing the petition gatherers enough to get enough signatures. If you concentrate on the college towns like Boise, Coeur d'Alene, Moscow, Lewiston, Pocatello, and Twin Falls, you probably get enough signatures. I favor, even though it was rejected in the last legislature, I think that every county should have a certain percentage, maybe 2 or 3, at least 5% in each county to get this to basically, because I think it's not fair for other communities or counties or other places who do not want the marijuana to have to be choked down by Boise, the Boise North End.
Agreed, Hank. God bless. Thank you for the call. Coming up, Bill. Plus more of your calls, and I found the vaping story. A lot going on this morning. Thank you for waking up on the right side. Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you. Don't forget the KIDO Talk Radio app. That's what happens when I try to be smooth. Never as smooth as my man Bill on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Bill.
Hey, Kevin. Good morning.
What up, Bill?
What up, man? What up? Today's Friday, right?
Yes, it is, Bill.
Thank God. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Bill.
Couple of things, bro. The first thing I'd like to be able to say is that, apparently we've lost any basic foundation of law. And I know you and I love to toy about this, about violations of federal law and federal supremacy and all that. It would be really interesting to be able to get into a much lengthier discussion on this issue because it really is crucial. I think when we talk about this CBD, pot, we talk about some of these other issues, we're leaving out one very important aspect of that, and that is the conspiratorial elements that are behind it. Now, I didn't say conspiracy theory. I said conspiracy fact. When you talk about CBD and you talk about pot, we're dealing with two things, well, a multitude of things. But basically, the first thing that jumps out in my mind is natural versus big pharma. And we all know the big pharma is in working with the government and all of that kind of thing, and they can create anything. You watch TV if you've been gone for any amount of time away from the TV, and the only thing you see are medications for everything, followed by commercials with attorneys that want to sue you for that medication that they actually made that just happened to be FDA approved. The other thing to think about too is that the government creates its own problems. Okay, so you take a guy like me. I never owned a firearm until they started flying off the shelves, until I was feeling threatened for my life. Now you look into this issue with pot. I was never a big proponent of pot. Okay, I don't do it. I don't like. I'm just not into it. It's just not my thing. I don't believe that it's good for society. But the violation, the government's empowerment in the complete violation of the Fourth Amendment to give itself boundless authority is worse. And so what I'm here to tell you is that I think that we should consider which is the worst of the two issues.
Well,
people that are smoking pot, people that are on medication,
Bill. Can I get in for a second, please?
Of course, I had to finish my statement.
Well, I know that, but that could be another 2 minutes. You have a lot of information, Bill, and I understand and respect that, sir. What do you think? And you have touched on the hypocrisy. On one hand, we have the federal government. I know you're a big fan, being sarcastic here, of the Supremacy Clause, that the federal government says you can't smoke the pot, and then you have states saying you're not the boss of us. And then you have the federal government saying you can grow the hemp, and Idaho saying you're not the boss of us. And pot can be a states' rights issue, but marriage can't. You're our constitutional scholar, Bill. We've got about a minute left. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't believe in federal supremacy unless the states have given the power, the few and defined powers, to the federal government. There are so many people that either don't know that concept, can't navigate through the concept, and want to ignore it because it's too complicated, or they just don't want to upset the apple cart. I'm talking about solutions in this country and in this state and in our community. I want to know who else is talking about solutions. I don't want to just make it another day, because every day that we wait, that we don't talk about solutions, is another day that we put the nail in the coffin of the future next generation. And I think we need to spend a little more time working on the solutions for the next generation than we do need to worry about, what we're going to do tomorrow. And so that's where my focus is, and we need to start understanding the dangers of not doing that.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning, Dave.